Grocery shopping is much cheaper than restaurants, and by a lot more than I realized. I think nowadays when I go out to a restaurant, or not a restaurant, when I go out to fast food specifically, Burger King, Wendy's, Domino's, etc., it's just like I pay a surprisingly large amount of money. And then when I eat the food, it's just like, okay, I mean, yeah, it's food, but it's just like, it doesn't taste that good. It's, you know, obviously very unhealthy for you with a lot of fats, grease, and all that stuff. And it's just like, I don't think fast food is at all worth it. I think a lot of people back then, a lot of people now, they used to say like, oh, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, fast food used to be, you know, cheaper than eating out, which I don't think that was ever the case because fast food, when you're paying for restaurants in general, but especially fast food, you're paying for convenience. You're paying for not just ingredients, but you're paying for the rent, the labor, the utilities, the overhead, and all that stuff. But I guess you could make the argument that back then, fast food was cheap enough to where you could justify going out to fast food over grocery shopping if you're tired from work one day. But nowadays, that's just objectively not the case. Like fast casual is much better than going to fast food. Like if you go to Chili's, for example, right? They have this deal where you can get it's a 3 for 10.99 deal, right? Where you get a burger, you can get like a quarter pounder burger, whatever, right? You can get some fries, you can get a salad or a soup, and you can get a drink, and that's only for $11 plus tax. And even if you include like a 20% tip, it's like $14.20, which is like not a lot of money. I would say you're basically paying an extra $4, maybe five, for like a much better meal, and you get the whole sit down experience, and you get the waiter, you interact with those staff a lot, So I think if I was going to go out to a fast place, I wouldn't go to fast food anymore. Or at least try not to. I just go to a fast casual place because it's yeah, you're paying a little bit more extra money, but especially in like more expensive places like California, New York, and all those states and places and cities, like fast casual is like on par, or it could even be better than in terms of prices than fast food nowadays because it's just not worth it at all. Like grocery shopping is a lot cheaper than I could have imagined because everyone knows like grocery shopping is obviously cheaper than going out to a restaurant in general, but to the extent in which it was cheaper, like if I had known this like 2 years ago, 4 years ago, man, I would have eaten at home a lot more. Because throughout most of my life, I'd always been disconnected to the prices of groceries. I never like whenever I would cook throughout high school, I always had ingredients. I always had eggs, cheese, avocados. It's stuff my mom brought home. And even when I went shopping with my brothers to get to cook sometimes around like 2024, even then I didn't care about the price that much because at the end of the day, my brothers were paying for it. So the prices didn't matter to me. So I was always disconnected from it up until sort of recently around first semester, but especially second semester of my freshman year at university, when I actually went out shopping. I went out to get some ground beef, some vegetables, some ingredients to cook for myself at home. And so I went to Walmart and I got some market side ground beef, which is basically it's just a brand that gives you like organic, grass fed, I believe grass finished ground beef, and it's $7.28, or maybe it was $7.26 for 1 pound of ground beef of that organic grass fed ground beef, which is surprisingly cheaper than a two cheeseburger meal at McDonald's. And here in Texas, if you buy groceries, you don't pay a sales tax on it. If if you pay for food that's prepared, then you pay sales tax for here in Texas. So it's actually even cheaper than what it could be in other states. And when I saw that, I was just like, dude, like you can get like ground beef for like a cheap price, or like not a cheap price, but it's a cheaper price than most meals at fast food. And that's just like grass fed, like organic. If you don't care about grass fed organic at all, you get like standard, like ground beef at like Walmart, Target, etc. Like it's like $5 per pound, $6 per pound. So it could be even cheaper than you know a fast food meal. And then you pair that, and so what I did was I got some ground beef, I got a zucchini, a bag of carrots, I got some white onion, bell peppers, and I had some rice at home that my mom bought from wherever. And the price of it after you cook it all with butter and stuff like that, it's like $11, $12 for like 4 meals, 3 meals if I'm like for me because I'll be a little extra hungry. But but that's the thing. It's like 12 bucks for 3 meals. That's $4 per meal. That's like a pretty good price for a meal. Like what can you get for $4 at McDonald's, right? For example, you can get like not even two cheeseburgers by itself. It's like, dude, I think people don't realize, or maybe they do, and I just I've been oblivious this entire time. But for me at least, I've never realized how much cheaper grocery shopping was. And if I had known, man, I would be eating at home a lot more because I never realized it. And even for me, like cooking takes a long time. It'll take me like 30 minutes to cut up like 2 pounds of chicken thighs. The next 30 minutes to cut up some vegetables, and then I'll take a break for like 20 minutes, and then realize I have to cook all this stuff too, right? So even for me, I take a while, but even then, I think it's worth the time and the price because you know you get a much more. First off, it's much cheaper, obviously, right? It's also much more filling because you're not having like all these added fillers that they probably have at fast food like Wendy's, Burger King, all that stuff. And and obviously, like the most obvious benefit is that it's just much healthier for you because when you cook, you can control the ingredients you put in it yourself. When you go to fast food or any restaurant in general, right? Sure, you could like ask them for to do this thing to maybe remove some calories or to remove some food you don't want, but at the end of the day, you don't have control over the food at the restaurants. When you cook at home, you have all the control. If you want to put, you know, 10 butter sticks in some burger for some reason, you can do that, right? If you want to put, a bunch of vegetables in your rice bowl, you can do that. Like, you have all the control when it comes to cooking. I think the other problem too, and this might just be me because I've asked a couple of friends if they've noticed this and they haven't said it, and they said they haven't noticed it. But I feel like fast food nowadays, it just tastes off. Like something about it just doesn't taste right. And maybe like to be fair, it could be that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when I was a little child, a teenager, I, it the taste buds, they haven't developed yet, and even now they're still probably developing because as you go older, like when you're young, sugar tastes really great. You fat tastes really great, but then as you get older, your taste buds kind of mature, and it's like a lot of adults nowadays they'll drink black coffee versus like if you're a teenager or if you're a child, you'll want coffee that tastes that you don't want black coffee. You want coffee that has a bunch of creamer, maybe a bunch of sugar in it, etc. But and so that could be the reason why fast food tastes off nowadays. But even then, I think it's when you've had a certain thing for so long, it just tastes. It doesn't taste like as good as it could be. It just tastes standard, right? Versus when you cook at home, right? You can cook any. You can hypothetically cook anything you want. You could cook some rice bowl one day. The next day you cook some salad. Then the third day you could cook some steak or something like that. So I think it could. I don't know how to really describe it. It's just something about the fast food tastes off nowadays. Like maybe they use cheaper ingredients, but it's lower quality. Maybe it's the fact that like nowadays most restaurants they get all their ingredients from Cisco. Like it's like every single national chain restaurant, even some local restaurants, they just import their food from Cisco. Which, funnily enough, I saw my university dining hall. They have food from Cisco as well. I literally saw a Cisco truck on the way to university, and I just saw the Cisco truck. I was like, well, who would have thought? No wonder why the food tastes so bad. Fast food nowadays just is not worth it. And I think if I'm what I'm trying to do is that if I try to go to like a restaurant nowadays, I'm trying to go for either fast casual like Chili's. Um, I don't know if Olive Garden is really fast casual, but though like higher end restaurants that you have the sit down experience properly, right? Either that or I just go for local restaurants nowadays. Because with local restaurants, right, you're generally speaking, yes, you're paying quite quite a lot more for the same amount of food, but it just tastes so much better. I went to this burger place, this local burger place, and it was like $16 for two single cheeseburgers, which like you could probably get like four. No, you could probably get like six cheeseburgers at McDonald's, for example, right, for the same price. But the cheeseburgers at that local restaurant, it was just the beef on the cheeseburger itself was much bigger. I believe it was quarter pounder compared to like a tenth pound for cheeseburgers at McDonald's, and it just tastes so much better. You know, the sauce ratio was good, the vegetables were fresh, and the buns, you know, the sesame bun, it tasted like I don't know how to describe it. It just tastes like real sesame. I don't know how to really describe it, but it just tastes so much better than any fast food place. And so I think that, to be honest, I have no idea why fast food just tastes bad nowadays. Like it's something about it just doesn't taste right at all. You know, like every time I go to fast food, I always go in like, yes, I want to eat the fast food nowadays. But then after I leave, I'm just like, just like I should have just never went at all. It would have been better had I just not ate at all. You know. But yeah, grocery shopping, it's so much cheaper than I could have realized, and the only reason why I go for fast food nowadays is just 'cause, like I don't have any food on the ready. And so here, like if I had like, you know, meal prep on the ready, some ground beef or chicken, you know whatever, and I took with me to school every day, bro, I probably would not eat out to fast food at all. I really wouldn't. So I don't know, man. Fast food just is not worth it. Grocery shopping is a lot cheaper than I could have ever imagined.